Thank you so much for joining us on Straight Outta Savannah. This is going to be an incredible show. I have Melinda Cates here. She is going to tell you who she is, what she does, and she probably going to tell you all about you. So, Melinda, take it away.
Tammy, darling, thank you for having me here. And thank you for starting Unleash Your True Self podcast, because you are talking to someone who, at the age of 18, sat on the end of a bed and went, "This is not who I am. This is not me." Who I had become was a product of my environment, my upbringing. And at that moment, I went, "I'm going to find me, the real me." And all of us know deep within us that we have a part of us that is pure, a
Mm,
part of us that is whole, that is
mm,
filled with richness and goodness, that's limitless, that's filled with worth.
mm,
And in fact, that part of us doesn't even use the terms we use in human terms, like self-worth or self-belief or confidence, because it doesn't need to, because there's no lack and there's no question.
mm.
And what we have done is, as you and I were just talking before, is separated from that part of us. And a post I put up lately was about being split in two, and I believe you mentioned it to me before we came on here. And the split in two is our soul self, our true self, and
Mhm.
our human self. And what I guide and help people to do is those who are aware, that feel and operate from their truth, who
Mm,
hear and feel the
mm,
calling.
mm, mm,
And as
mm.
you and I have both felt, where they've been told they're too much and they don't fit in, I guide them home in remembering who they truly are, where they heal the emotions and they find the safety within themselves to not just remember and reconnect to who they truly are, but to allow and create the space within them for their soul to be expressed through their humanness and to live the life that they came here to truly live.
Mm.
A title? I just had a whole lot of feedback yesterday about my title doesn't make sense and they don't know what it is. And do you know what? I allowed those people to try and put me into a box.
Yes.
I've never lived in a box, and I get you haven't either,
Nope. Not going to
because
start
you
now.
weren't put on this earth to live in a box. You weren't put on this earth to fit in. And I went, "Do you know what? A title doesn't matter, because if you feel me, if you connect with me, if what I say resonates with you, that's what matters."
Yes, absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. Because, I did a thing on labels. I got this thing about labels. And so I did a video, I think YouTube, on labels. And I talked about how, why do we have them? And what do they mean? Because we have all these labels now, like, back in the old days, you didn't have, autistic. You had, Aunt Sandy was a little strange. Uncle Joe was a little strange.
Yeah,
What I mean?
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? And so you didn't have all these boxes really to put people in.
Yep.
And now everything's a label. And then they get all upset about pronouns and all this kind of crazy stuff. And I'm like, what does that even mean? It's not you.
No, it's not, because what it does is it gives us an identity.
Yes.
And there's a twofold thing. For the individual, they love a label because then they feel they're of worth and value, which is only purely a reflection of the lack of worth and value that they're feeling internally.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Yes.
And then why do other people like labels? Because then you're predictable.
Yeah.
Then I can control what I'm feeling and feel a level of safety around you because I put you in a box. But we're not here to play safe.
Oh, that's just
Here to
amazing.
express ourselves, sweetheart. We came on this earth as salt. And look, I'm sure, from your experience, you will have been exposed to this. So many denominations, so many cultures I've spoken to. And, from Muslim to Catholic to Baptist, to, you name it.
Mormons and Jehovah Witnesses and
Exactly.
Hindus and
All of them have a common belief, and that is that we have a soul within us. What that soul is here to do has variations on it, but there is still a core common thing. And it's possibly not put in as explicit words as I'm about to describe it, but this is more commonly accepted these days, which is I'm a soul living in a human body,
yes,
here to have a human experience. As you and I were talking, and as mentioned before, we separate from that true
yes,
self that we are born as, which is why we love children, is because
yes,
the purity of them.
yes.
And many people, even at kindergarten, experience that feeling of not fitting in. They experience the truth, they see the difference, and they struggle with being in this world because for a lot of us, we have soul amnesia, but there are a number that come in with soul consciousness. But
Mm-hmm.
we're at a point in our human evolution or humanity's evolution or our spiritual evolution or all of it that people are remembering and waking up more and more.
Yes.
So we unlearn being that soul and we become our human self. And the human self has processes that the soul doesn't have. The soul doesn't have emotions.
Mm.
The soul has states of being because it's whole. The soul doesn't have an intellect because it has a consciousness that's universal. The soul doesn't have sensing because it doesn't have a body and it doesn't need to sense things, it just knows.
Mm.
So we wake up to journeying back to our true self because we feel that calling, that yearning for that peace, that wholeness again. But what we lose sight of is the beauty of the human experience. The soul chose the human experience because it can't experience all of the beauty of the body and the emotions as a soul.
Yes.
So people then go, oh, forget your past. It's negative emotions. So what we do is
So much of that.
we reject our human self as if our soul wasn't rejected to start with, which created our human self.
Mhm,
We're
mhm.
now rejecting our human self to get back to our soul. So
Yeah.
we keep separating ourselves.
Yes.
So this journey for our soul wants us to love all of us, the pain, the joy, because the beauty of the human journey is we experience the dualities that the soul doesn't because the soul's whole.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So embrace all of it, but the key is recognizing the emotions still need healing because they block the truth of your and the voice of your soul. They block the expansion of your soul into the human form. And
Mm.
the ultimate alignment is bringing our human self back to its purity.
Mm.
So reducing the emotion, healing the emotions, healing the body, and using the intellect and mind for the appropriate tasks in the human world. And fully embracing the soul, your true self, and fully trusting and listening to the voice of your soul and uniting both, then we get true full potential expressed.
Mm.
Soul potential and human potential.
Jeez, Nelly.
Sorry, darling, I've just sort of gone.
No, that's what we're doing. I love it. You are like exploding my brain, and it's all good. So let's talk about how you got here. Like, what was your journey like? You know, getting into this beautiful, enlightened being that you are.
You and I were talking about choosing our parents, and I chose mine absolutely perfectly, even though for many years I felt otherwise.
I could tell that you had that type of experience.
Oh, look, I first caught my dad beating my mum, and I was 10 and I broke his arm. with a hockey stick.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah,
That was necessary.
because it was wrong.
Hmm.
And at 7, I knew not to talk to a woman in another family when we were out to dinner. You ask a 7-year-old why, and they just say, I know I'm not to. And I got beaten that night for doing so. But I knew something was wrong with that woman. She was having, we found out years later, she was having an affair with my father, who projected his guilt onto me. And I stopped trusting my knowing, the voice of my soul at that point, because it equaled getting beaten. So
Yeah.
I became strong. My teens, people used to say tough chick should have been a brick. I'm not quite sure why they said that, but and apparently years later, the girls at school told me that I scared the shit out of them. Um, and that saddened me because I didn't realize that's how tough and brittle I'd got. But years after that, they said to me, you were the person who spoke the truth that no one else dared to, and we looked up to you. So
That's
I
all.
never ever fitted in. Even when I was 22 and worked for the biggest company in New Zealand, I was told, love your personality, but you don't fit here. And I didn't even fit in my family. And so I had got to a point I was really destructive and sitting on my bed at 18, knew that this person I was presenting to the world was not me.
Hmm.
Who there was, I made a commitment to find my true self, the Melinda that was the real me. I didn't know what that was. A series of events happened, including spending a bit of time in India, where I got given a name, and the process, a Sanskrit name, which was Manikutananda, which means jewel at the top of the mountain.
Oh, wow.
And I wanted to become that jewel and find that part of me. But it wasn't until I was 24 when my dad wrote a hideous letter, and because I he told me when I was 18, you're no longer my daughter, you contact me through lawyers. So the ultimate rejection with him happened. And I only saw him one more time after that when I was 35. And when I was 24, this letter, it's like it cracked everything open. Everything I've been suppressing and controlling could no longer stay down. So I spent 3 months with a conventional academic lady, so a psychologist, or I can't remember what her official title was. And she was a savior in that I was able to download what I was feeling to someone, but I surpassed it because I ended up helping her, and I couldn't comprehend what she was saying to me. Like she said, break down your personalities and identify them. And I'm like, what the hell are you on about? And so I quit, and I knew I had the answers inside of me. So I went looking for them.
Oh,
So I made, I knew there was a jewel inside of me, something so precious that I couldn't touch. So how could anyone else connect with me? So I wanted to find her. So just so happened that training and facilitation became my journey. I got led into that. I got discovered and asked to join that, and I knew it was right. So I had my personal journey and my facilitation journey joined together in 2000 when I
nice.
spent 8 months creating a program called the I Make a Difference program, which I'm about to launch it again in its second involvement. And it describes the whole journey of how we disconnect from who we are, how that unfolds, what to work with in the journey back to self, and then the expansion of your true self within your human self.
Nice.
Yeah, so
People
it's
need that so
oh,
much.
absolutely. And
I
they,
was I was just interviewing a young lady before you,
yeah,
and that was the conversation that we had about how disconnected people are from their bodies, and that's the work that she does. And so when I heard that, I was like, wow, we just talked about that. Like people are so disconnected. They're
yeah,
not even feeling. But then we talked about why that was probably because we were conditioned that way. Especially she's a Gen X, I'm a Gen X, and we were like, they kind of fucked us.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I go back to, and you were probably the same, Tammy. I mean, when I created, I mean, I was delivering, so for 25 years, I delivered the IMAT to anyone from murderers and paedophiles and guys in general prison right through to CEOs, disengaged youth, Indigenous groups, refugees, migrants, long-term unemployed.
Yes.
And I walked with them. And every single person I've met, there's not one of us on this earth that hasn't disconnected from our true self
Oh, absolutely.
to
I
varying degrees.
believe that. Yes.
And it has been for us to relearn, but with human consciousness as well, who we really are, to
Hmm.
remember who we really are, because we've never lost the connection. It's still there. We just choose not to listen to it. We choose not to feel it. We choose not to hear it. But it seeps through because it's far more powerful than our human conscious.
I love
And
the fact that you said we choose,
yep,
because people a lot of times they want to give away their power, and say, "Oh, I didn't choose. That was because, God did this, or, so and so did this, or, mom, because my mama, she, all this stuff." But it's like, no, 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 no.
because if we own the choice, then what happens?
You got to do the work.
And you're accountable
Yes.
and you have to take ownership for what you chose and that you actually did it to yourself. And people don't like admitting that.
No, they don't.
And that is the scariest part. And I said it to you just before we started. 25 years ago, I used to ask people, and I haven't for a while, and it's a question for your listeners is how willing and how committed are you to truly going to your true self, your soul? And as I said to you, a lot of people used to say, oh, totally. And I'd say, come back to me in a day or so. And they actually were shit scared. And even someone who journeyed with me 24 years ago has come back into my life and I'm coaching her. And she is even scared of dropping down to that next layer. And she's done a lot of work because there's no more not seeing things, there's no more pushing your emotions down, there's no more not taking responsibility for your choices, there's no more pretending you didn't see something happen.
Yes, yes.
Also, there's no more making any of that wrong. It's it's a level of accountability that people are scared of. And even my mother said it the other day. She said, oh my gosh, I've connected to my knowing. Oh, that's terrifying. I said, what's terrifying about it? She said, the power. And because when people connect to their true self, they feel this power come through and they feel 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And they think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be like this the rest of my life. No, what's happening is you've suppressed that energy for that flow for so long that it's suddenly filling you. So, of course, you're feeling the difference. It's really, there's a rightness, there's a stillness. It's not scary. It's a freedom. But when you can't remember it, it's scary because it's unfamiliar, and that's all. But when you do remember it, you go, why was I ever scared of this?
Right. You say, it's almost like when they tell you when you're doing public speaking, and I remember it from church when we were little and doing the Easter speeches. Because
I
I
love it.
was never that person that wanted to get up in front of all those people. And so they would say, just pretend, like everybody had on, their underwear or something.
I always found that a really interesting one.
I was like, that would make me laugh. Am I supposed to be laughing when I say Jesus wept?
I love it. I love it. I love it. The most important thing for us is not making any part of us wrong. Our human self, our true self, it wants our love. It wants our acceptance because our soul completely accepts and loves us. It
Yes.
doesn't judge us for anything.
Yeah.
And so what saddens me is when I hear people say, oh, that jerk in my head or the devil in my head. Oh, for
Mm-mm.
goodness sake, that is part of you that stop and look at. That part of you helped you get to where you are. Without
Absolutely.
it, you wouldn't have been able to get here.
Absolutely.
Thank her, thank him. How magical that they told you, oh, don't go near that relationship. You're going to get burnt or rejected. You know,
And
you
so many
don't.
of us wish we had listened to those. I
Ah,
wouldn't have
and
had a star husband.
that then raises another point is how do you discern the voice of your truth in your soul as opposed to the voice in your head? And the most simplest way is the voice in your head will give you long conversations. You will feel emotion attached to it. You will feel the energy up here. The voice of your soul emanates from the bottom of your belly, and it's very simple and doesn't say a lot. It never judges, never has emotion.
Yes, I love that. I love it. I love it. I know that the people that are watching are going to really get something from that because, a lot of times nobody tells you that, and growing up, when I grew up in the church, it was always, is it your voice? Is it God's voice? Or is it the devil's voice? You know what I
Oh,
mean? These are the
yeah,
things that's what they taught us, and so you're like, okay, wait, is it my voice or is it the devil's voice or is it God's voice? And so the way you put it, that was so simple.
yeah. And it is simple. And that's, you asked me earlier, how did I get to where I am? I'm a process and processing expert. I love it. I'm inspired by what I discover in me. And it used to be what I healed, what I unraveled. There's still unraveling, there's still occasional healing, but it's now more discovering and uncovering. So the uncovering is what did I know about me that I've covered, that I'm now awakening again? What is it in me that's been dormant that's coming to the fore? And the discovering is because we suppress our true self at a particular age, of course, if we hadn't have suppressed that part of us as we grew as a human, we would have accessed different parts of us, but we never got to that. So the discovering is the new parts of yourself, where it can even be a lot of our soul potential. Like it could be someone suddenly being able to have clairvoyancy or being able to astral travel, if those are the things that you are drawn to that is right for you. Um, and it's just magical. And yet we live in fear of ourselves for most of our lives.
Oh,
And
yes, we do. I really believe I actually had that conversation with myself a few years ago. I said, I think that I am afraid of this power that I carry
yeah,
because I knew it. I felt it. I've had since I was a child. I've known. I used to lay hands on people. My grandmother would call me up to the front of the church to lay hands on people and pray. So I knew I had that gift, even from then. But I was so afraid of it for years.
what were you scared of?
Um, well, there was a lot of things, a lot of things. I was afraid because at first I thought I'm supposed to be a pastor. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. I don't not in not in traditional church. I don't want to. You know what I mean? And so I was afraid of that because I felt that like my grandmother, she put a lot of stuff in me, and I'm seeing the fruit of a lot of it now, which is amazing to me. But I was like, I don't want to be a pastor. I don't want to. And I thought that was the way had to go,
Yeah,
because I knew I had these gifts, I knew I had this power, and I was like, oh my God, part of me was like, who am I? You know, to have this, to do this, to be this, that was a part of it. And it took probably, I think I started dealing with it maybe about 10 years ago.
yeah.
And it took a few years before I felt ready. And I think that's a part of it. It's like, even if because I experienced uh, mediumship from a child, and
Mm.
that scared out of me. And that was one of the things I asked God to take away because in the way that it was for me, I was a child, like I was like 6, 7 years old, and it scared the crap out of me because there was no one I could talk to about it but my grandmother. Like my grandmother and I, she was the only person. There are things that she and I talked about that nobody knows. She was that person for me. And so I was afraid. I was like, I don't even know. And then I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Because you look around and you see all these people doing different things and whatever, whatever, whatever. And you're like, okay, well, maybe that's good, or maybe that looks good, or maybe I should do that. But because you realize you're supposed to do something, and you also know that you have these gifts, and you know, when you have them, a lot of times you think everybody else does, but they're gifts. You're like, you don't know how to do that, And yeah, so I understand that. You're just
So,
afraid of that power.
so were you scared that you would be different?
Well, I already was different, so that
Exactly,
wasn't a thing.
exactly. But were you scared you wouldn't be accepted and
I
that it
was
would be
scared I
judged?
wouldn't be able to help people. Like they might come to me and I couldn't help them heal.
So you were scared that you weren't up to what you were being called to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, well, maybe that's, maybe. I went through that for a little while. And, and then I had some things to happen that showed me that, yeah, you're
Yeah.
good. This is what you're supposed to be doing.
I love that.
It's
I love
amazing, right?
that.
Ah,
Yeah.
it's so awesome. So let's start wrapping this up, and I want you to share what's on your heart for the audience. You know, um, and then I have one more question that I ask everybody.
Yeah. I won't share what's on my heart. And I'm sorry not to make you wrong, Tammy, at all, but darling, for me, the heart is the emotions. And I prefer to speak from my soul and what's
You
sitting
share
there.
what's on your soul.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm
The
good with
voice
that.
of my true self. For those who have felt like a misfit, that they don't fit, that they're too much, if you have silenced yourself, if you have dimmed your light and you've tried to fit into the traditional boxes and molds around you, but you feel your truth fighting that, and you feel a fight inside of you, but you also feel the calling within you. Breathe, relax into that truth. It is your true self calling you, and you weren't born to fit a mold.
Hmm.
You weren't born to fit into a box. You were born to be a shining light. You were born to be a leader that would stand in your truth, that sees people, that knows things, who will create the new pathways that humanity needs. But you have a responsibility with that truth. And that is to not speak it with emotion, not speak it to harm, not speak it to hurt, but to speak it from your soul, which is from a place of rightness and goodness, for the goodness of humanity, for the goodness of the people, so that the people who are meant to connect with you and hear it feel it in their being because you're at peace with it in yourself.
That's
And
so,
listen to it for yourself as
yes,
well. Mm.
that is so powerful. So powerful, my God. Okay, so the last question that I have for you, if you could change anything in the world, what would that be and why?
How people treat animals.
Haven't gotten that one yet either. That's great. That is amazing.
Human beings have the capability to change themselves. be themselves and change their world. Animals, sadly, are at the mercy of humans in many cases. And sadly, where I live, people poison them, people shoot them. Yep. And look at, how many times on feeds you see bears caged, and animals are not here for our use. We're here to walk beside them. They're sacred. And what I intend on doing is being able to support as many cats as possible because I'm a cat person.
Oh, you're the cat lady. I love it.
But support them to be accepted for who they are, not who I would like them to be or anybody else wants them to be. Yeah.
That's amazing. And that is that's different than any other answer. I was just thinking I have done about over 200 interviews. And
Wow.
I've only gotten the same answer 3 times.
What was the same answer?
Can't remember it right. Can't remember it right now. When I do, I'll message you.
Yeah, do, sweetheart, because it's interesting. Look, I know the work I do. Well, it's not even work; it's who I be. If I know it touches people,
Yes.
and those that want to step in closer and walk beside me, I totally welcome them, and you will be honoured in every way and supporting, and you'll be in a space where it's safe until you are safe enough in yourself to continue to walk.
Yes. That is so powerful.
That I do. But animals, they need people to look out for them as well. Yeah.
And that is so real because
And can I just add one more thing? I always find it interesting.
absolutely.
And this is not indicative of every man and every woman or every person. This is people in my area. Many men have said to me, I hate cats, and a few women, and they love dogs. If you look at a dog will have a master. They are reliant on their master. They're needy of their master. Cats are not. What does that say about the people?
Mm, 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 mm,
They can't control a cat.
mm. What I was gonna say was a cat is a free spirit.
And you know what that's like.
I do. Think about it all the time. I'm like, man, it's just a powerful way to be. Yes. So we're gonna land this plane. I have enjoyed this.
Oh,
I gotta do my Abraham. I have enjoyed this interaction immensely.
oh, Tammy, from my soul to your soul, from my human self to your human self, I have had a beautiful, and I've been blessed to have an hour, just about an hour, over an hour with you. But I value your openness. I value your sharing. I value what you're doing and what you're sharing with the world.
Thank you.
And anything I can do to support you, sweetheart, and getting the messages, including your own, out there, I'm right here.
And you know what I say? The same. So definitely we'll stay connected. And she has her links and all that stuff will be in the description in the show notes and all that. So it'll be easy for you to click. You want to share with the people what is the best place to contact you or the best, where you are the most?
Yeah, I've just recently transformed my personal Facebook page. I just need to go to it to remember the address, into a professional one because it was the easiest way for people to connect with me. But it's in Facebook. It's Melinda, so Melinda .Cates, C for cats. There you go. ATES .mc. So not Melinda Gates, Melinda Cates, as in cats with an E.
But you
I've
guys
had,
look different, so.
oh yeah, I've had many inmates say, "Oh, Miss, are you married to Bill Gates?" And it's like, no, I'm
Yeah.
not.
Probably wouldn't I mean, I don't know.
I he married another Melinda.
Really?
Oh, dear.
That's
Yeah.
all right. So thank you so much for joining us on Straight Outta Savannah. Melinda has been such a blessing, a beautiful, beautiful spirit. So if you feel called to work with her, definitely check out her links and connect with her on Facebook because she is, an amazing, powerful being. And I have enjoyed this thing so much. I keep saying it, but it's just so amazing. And when you can find someone that you can connect with, that can hold space for you, that can, give you guidance and wisdom that maybe you didn't know, that is priceless. It's priceless. So make sure that you connect with her on her platform and make sure that you enjoy your day and that you begin to open up your soul so that you can unleash your true self. With that, we're going to be out. Thank you so much for joining us on Straight Outta Savannah. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe wherever you are watching this. And I do appreciate all of you. Bye now.